Good morning. My name is Jesse Stevens, and today we will be identifying the parts of the skull. Here is my skull, and here is my identification list. Here we have the frontal bone, the temporal bone, and here we have the parietal bones, and here on the back we have the occipital bone. Here is the coronal suture. Here is the sagittal suture. Here is the squamous suture. And on the back is the lambdoid suture. The upper portion of the mouth is called the maxilla, and the lower here is the mandible. The mental foramen is represented by this dot right here. The mandibular ramus is located here, and the mandibular condyle is located approximately here, where the mandible connects to the lower portion of the skull. The coronoid process of the mandible is located here, and this region here is the zygomatic bone. This is the sphenoid bone. The ethmoid bone is located inside the eye socket approximately here, and the lacrimal bone is located immediately to that. The supraorbital foramen is located here, and the infraorbital foramen is located almost directly beneath it here. The superior orbital fissure is located here at the very back of the eye socket, and the inferior orbital fissure is located directly below it here. The vomer bone is located here, and the ridge here is known as the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone. The middle nasal concha is located here, and the inferior concha is located here. Directly below the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone is the anterior nasal spine. Here on the side, this dot represents the external auditory meatus. The region located here is known as the glabella. On the medial side of the eye socket is the greater wing of the sphenoid bone, and here on the lateral side is the lesser wing of the sphenoid bone. The optical canal is located at the posterior aspect of the orbital region. The top indentation here is known as the foramen rotundum. Below that we have the foramen ovule, and here is the foramen spinosum. The foramen lacernum is located here, and it is directly inferior to the carotid canal. The indentation located here is known as the jugular foramen. In between the ethmoid bone and the greater wing of the sphenoid bone is the palatine bone. And what would be located right here, right behind the teeth, is what is known as the incisive fossa. And here, right above where the vertebrae are, there's a large opening called the foramen magnum, and approximately right here is what is known as the mastoid process. The bone that juts out here is the styloid process. And directly behind the styloid process is the stylomastoid foramen. The ridge located here is known as the crista galli. And directly posterior to that is the cribriform plate. The notch located here is the optic canal, and directly posterior and medial to that is the sella turica. And the slight indentation located approximately here is the internal auditory meatus. And that concludes the labeling of the bones of the skull.